Oh, well, hello again. So I just wanted to reach out. I had a bunch of people reach out about my videos, and some of them even provided custom short and long cut videos, which I've been posting on my Twitter. Please keep them coming. If they make me laugh, I promise I'll post them on Twitter. And I also posted one of them on my new YouTube channel, which is linked off of my Twitter account. Honestly, I think I'm probably just going to post videos to Twitter unless the interface breaks again, in which case I'll put it on YouTube and link it back. I think my favorite part about the videos that were posted is they were hilarious because they clearly didn't really get what I was talking about. So they were very funny videos, and I hope you guys enjoyed them as much as I do. Please give me feedback because I have no idea what I'm doing. So please tell me if you enjoy the custom videos and any other content you want me to post. Also, I had a bunch of people reach out on Twitter about what they viewed my positioning to be. I have, if you look at ancient history, you can kind of see some of the calls that I've made, and I'll try to go back to making specific calls straight on my Twitter. But some people thought I was long bonds. Some people think I'm short bonds. Right now, duration isn't even 1% of my portfolio or my mom's portfolio in any direction. The closest thing we own to US bonds are T-bills paying me 6%. My gut tells me that the Fed is going to keep rates higher than the market thinks for longer than they think. I don't know if we're going to see any, actual move up. But I'd like to, everyone should check out Brett Johnson's Market Milkshake Pod, where he discusses the difference between a hawkish pause and a dovish rate raise. And I think he has some really smart things to say about the psychology of that. But while I'm making psychic predictions, I think Japan and Europe duration will continue to approach American rates. And remember, they're starting from a negative point of view, so so the losses on their bonds are going to be much higher. So I think they might actually catch up and even exceed American rates, even in Japan. And I think that's going to have a really fascinating effect on the market. And I actually think that America can hold out much longer than these guys at the higher rates. So we might actually just stay at this point, you know, we might not even see any rate lowering in 2024, depending on what happens with the economy. Especially if things continue to go good, we could just kind of stay here maybe until 2025. At the same time, and I have to respond to this. This is something I've really wanted to do a video on. Someone told me how TLT isn't money, but gold or BTC, but gold is money. Other people mentioned Bitcoin. I think it's interesting, the idea that people would only invest in things that are money. First of all, that's kind of a fascinating critique of the TLT, is that it's not money. But I wanted to talk first just on Bitcoin. I'll make fun of you gold bugs later. But I want to first make fun of all of the Bitcoin bugs. I'm pretty sure I've owned Bitcoin a lot longer than you. You see, I was actually on the mailing list where Satoshi sent out the white paper, and I actually was one of the first people to mine Bitcoin. I did it on a laptop. No GPUs, no ASICs, nothing. Just literally a Pentium class laptop mining Bitcoin. And at the time, I worked in the financial industry, in traditional finance, this company called FactSet that supplied market data to the rest of the world. And, we were part of the organization that helped estimate how the economy would do under different interest rates, AKA we wiped out the economy in 2008. And I remember one day checking on my miner running on my work laptop. And between people yelling at me and telling me how they were going to kill me if this financial software that I was building didn't work, that's kind of how the financial industry was at the time. If things were running slow or it wasn't working, you'd call up the software company and threaten the death to them and their children if you couldn't get your modem to update your spreadsheet fast enough. And So there was some guy threatening death to me right before the market was closed. And then 1 minute after the market closed, my boss at the time, Anand Singh, slammed my laptop closed, hangs up the phone, and says, "Newman, we're going to the bar." And that was kind of the way that guy was. Anand would have been Indian royalty if he hadn't grown up in the Midwest. And he was just, I think he was probably my favorite boss ever. Not because he would get me drunk, but actually because he was a belligerent drunk. So when we would go into meetings, he would threaten death upon other departments that wouldn't get him servers in time, or, he would threaten, to hurt them in the meeting. And, we would all sit there with our hands folded, being very quiet as our boss would yell and throw things at the IT department in the boardroom. It was really a good lesson in great leadership of how you get people to follow. His whole team would kill for him because we knew he would kill for us. And I remember this thing he told me at the time, which at the time I discounted and thought was stupid, which is he said that Bitcoin was fucking stupid because it's a horrible liability. And I didn't really get what he meant at the time. And I guess after a decade or so being involved in this stuff, I finally get what he's talking about. If you go to El Salvador, sure, there are lots of people who like Bitcoin, but try getting your vendors to get your ingredients in Bitcoin, right? Or imagine having a debt to someone in Bitcoin where you have to pay them an ever increasing amount every month, because every month you have a certain amount of Bitcoin to pay, and Bitcoin's going to the moon, so therefore you're paying them more every month. No one wants to do that. So the fact that Bitcoin is such a great asset is actually what makes it such a bad liability, maybe the worst liability. I mean, the only liability that's worse than what the US did in the 70s with gold is probably Bitcoin. Because, there's only going to be 21 million, there's no way to inflate it away. Who wants to take out debt in something that's just going to go up in value all the time? And so I think this is probably the best way to think about gold or Bitcoin. If it's going to the moon, it actually sucks as money. It's the worst money. You don't want strong assets as money if it's going to be on the liability side. So don't get me wrong. I love Bitcoin. I've owned it in the past. It's very difficult to own now as a U.S. person, so I only own it in my Interactive Brokers account right now. I don't do self-custody of Bitcoin or any of that stuff as much as I'd like to. I'm not sure how to deal with the IRS in regards to that stuff. But I think if you're a crypto person, you really love Bitcoin, it's important to consider, would you rather have Tether on your liability side, or would you rather have Bitcoin on your liability side? Just something to consider, because effectively, if you use Bitcoin as money for trade, then you're effectively going short Bitcoin all the time, which seems very dangerous. And I would recommend never shorting Bitcoin. I know that there's probably a good time to do it, but I think nowadays you get a lot better exposure by just. I know it's super inefficient just to buy put contracts, but it's so much safer for these high vol assets that you use something like puts as insurance rather than, let's say, writing calls or naked shorting your Bitcoin. I don't think that's good. So when people say that Bitcoin is money, they're saying short Bitcoin, that they're super bearish Bitcoin, and that they think that Bitcoin's going to zero. I think that Bitcoin could easily go up a lot, and that's why it's a really bad form of money. So just something to think about. Anyway, thanks so much for your time, and keep those videos coming.